What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. So we're going to be working on this 1968 Dodge Charger with the Hellcat Swap. So if you guys are new to the channel, we've already had a few episodes introducing this car, showing what we had to fix and the progress up until this point. So right now, I'm still waiting for the PCM to come back, but there's still a lot to do to the car. If you guys aren't caught up to speed, we've gone through a bunch of stuff: fuel systems, spark plugs, checking fuel pressure, getting the electrical system so that this thing will actually crank, but it still is running a little bit funny. So check out those videos if you guys want to get up to date on everything. But while I wait for the PCM to come back so that we can check the calibration and whatnot, I have to finally address the brake switch. So the brake switch was incorrectly hooked up, if you guys saw that episode. And what I'm going to do right now is, this is, if I can show you guys here, this is the current bracket that somebody has built, but is completely wrong. The brake switch is operating and swinging in the incorrect direction, so I have to take this off and completely change the positioning of the brake switch so that I don't have to continually keep manipulating it by hand every time I want to start this thing. So they had it set up some weird way, which was actually swinging the sensor backwards. So I believe they had it like this, which is the incorrect way for it to operate. It's supposed to actually be this way, and every time you press the brake, it's supposed to swing down this way. So they had it flipped this way, so every time you put the brake on, it would swing the opposite way, and it was doing some funky stuff. It didn't want to start. So anyways, I've been manipulating it by hand, and I figured I might as well address this since it's something that has to be done. So let me take off this bracket that they made. Since it already has the positioning for the holes, I'll see if I can manipulate it and get it to where I want. If not, I'm just gonna make a custom bracket from scratch and go from there. So let me mess with it for a bit, and I'll show you guys what I come up with. All right, so I think I have the positioning sorted out, you guys. So managed to manipulate the original bracket and restructure some stuff. So only thing is, I'm going to put an additional support bolt in the bracket because I don't like the way it is right now. Since it's open to, you know, if somebody kicked it or something like that, it would lose its calibration because there's only one bolt holding it. So that should be the correct operation now. So once I get the PCM back, I can recalibrate the sensor and make sure that the system is happy, but that should work as far as the operation of what we need. So hopefully that's out of the way. Let's move on to the next thing. Okay, next thing I think I want to address is getting all of these wires organized into the dash, because everything is just kind of hanging and making me kind of crazy from a OCD standpoint. So what I'm going to do is, like, for example, our OBD2 port is just dangling here. So I'm going to start getting things clipped into place, bundled. That way just everything looks a little bit more organized and doesn't look so chaotic in here, because all this is just, this rat's nest is making me a little bit crazy looking at it every single time. So a lot of this stuff, like a lot of these wires are all coming from the doors, so I'm going to coil these up and put them off to the side for whenever we decide to maybe tackle power door locks and power windows and all that stuff. And we'll organize all this so it doesn't look so cluttered. All right, that looks a heck of a lot better. So spent a bunch of time organizing all this stuff. This has to go up here, so that's why that's dangling. This one would go up to potentially a headliner if it had that harness. This one would go to a tweeter up here if it had that as well. So we'll leave that in its appropriate position. This one actually clips to the panel, but I think the clip is broken on it, but it would go here. So I might just bundle it up with this stuff here anyways. But that's looking a heck of a lot better. Let's keep organizing some stuff. Okay, another little project. It's not that exciting, but it is something that needs to be dealt with. Is, you'll notice I have the key fob back here in the back seat. Well, there's an antenna over here, and the other antenna is right here. And I keep having to, ever since I got this thing working, having to throw the key back here. There is an antenna right here on the center console, but it wasn't registering for whatever reason. I just figured whatever, I'll deal with it later, and later is now. But as I told you guys before, I ended up replacing the center console harness because it was all hacked up and it was the wrong one. Charger body harness and then Challenger center console, and there's a completely different wire setup. But the wires were cut on that originally, and then this one obviously is uncut, untouched, not messed with. On the other hand, on this side, you'll see here somebody's written the numbers, so 12-1 and 24-13. And as soon as I saw that, not only that, but there is a retaining clip that's missing from here that's supposed to hold all these pins in place. They don't generally come out, but you're supposed to remove the retainer to be able to access the pins and release them. But anyways,
that pretty much told me, along with this little divider that's broken here, somebody's been repinning stuff. And sure enough, our antenna wires, the ones that go to this antenna for the keyless remote, they have been moved around. So what I'm gonna do is remove these, put them where they're supposed to go. I'm looking at the wiring schematics, and people have just moved these wires all over the place, and obviously you can tell they decided to do that because they were trying to number stuff. I'm gonna put them where they're supposed to be, so that way I can plug this back in and we can actually get our antenna working, so that the center console has an antenna, and then the key fob, you can have it in your pocket wherever, and it'll actually work the way it's supposed to. Okay, so I'm just releasing some of the pins, and again, they have, I don't even know who they is, but somebody has the wires all over the flipping place. So I'm gonna move these around, that way we get back to where we're going. Third one in. Just so strange, you guys. Truly is strange. Okay, so these are the two for the passive antenna, and then I gotta find out why somebody put one in the wrong spot, because this one is not supposed to be here. This is supposed to be where our passive antenna goes. Hopefully they didn't move too many around, but I'm having to pull out other wires because they got them moved around and in the wrong spot where our passive antenna is supposed to connect to. Alright, so we'll get this one in here. Alright, well that should be that. Alright, well that mystery's solved. Repopulated these so that we don't have to worry about that nonsense anymore. So now I can actually have the key up here and it will turn on. I have to actually recalibrate this sensor because the sensor for our brake switch, it'll try to start automatically right now. So I still have to mess with our brake sensor and recalibrate that, but you can see here, here's the key fobs way up here. And for each down here so it doesn't start on us. Accessory, run, and turns off. So, and then also the fault code for that antenna, the passive entry antenna, has now gone away.
Alright, so I cannot make this up if I tried. We got the PCM back, it's unlocked, I was able to write to it, and once I loaded the stock program in, I started it, and it still runs like an absolute bag. It still was throwing the same codes as before, mind you, and I'll throw that up on the screen here. It was throwing codes for bad ionization on a bunch of the coils. Anyways, I decided to be a bit of a nerd and take this thing apart, and you guys are not going to believe what I found. So you guys can obviously see somebody has painted this PCM, right? So normally a PCM, that's the spare Hellcat one, it would look like that. It wouldn't be painted like this. Somebody had painted it. But prior to me doing anything, this case was beat up like crazy. So we sent this off to get unlocked, and when we sent it off, we got it unlocked, it came back, still ran like crap. Anyways, I opened it up and I saw a bunch of chips missing from over here, and I thought, oh, maybe that's, you know, how they unlock it. On further inspection, there is a whole host of chips that's missing from the corner. I don't know how these guys unlock these things, but what I do know is me and my buddy Roman were talking, and when we followed this trace, it goes over to this pin, and this is coil number 6. So all these circuits that are missing runs coil number 6 along with some of these other coil packs, because there's a bunch of little fuses and little chips here that are missing. I don't know if you guys will be able to see this on the camera, but this one's scraped off and a lot of them just got absolutely obliterated. And if you look over here, there is a screwdriver mark that is pried open very badly. And it's not like I don't know how to open these things, you guys, like not like I'm malicious in that sense. If I show you guys this one, again, this is one I opened. You have to be careful when you open them because you don't want to damage anything, but check this out just so you guys can see. So this is the stock Hellcat one. Look at all these chips that are right here, and then you look in the same spot here, they are all missing. They're all broken completely off. So that is, I hope the reason why this thing is running like garbage is because it literally is missing the circuitry to be able to run the coils. So what I'm doing right now is we're heading down to my buddy's shop. We're gonna go down there, pick up a PCM, and then come back, and then hopefully this thing might all of a sudden start operating and behaving as it should. So bit of a drive. They're about 2 hours away. I'm gonna go pick it up, and then hopefully by the end of today, we might have some good news. So let's go. All right, guys, so I saved you guys having to come along for a drive with me because I know you guys want to check this out and see if it works, and I do too. So here we are, and if you guys ever get into stuff like this, you have to make sure it's the same part number because these 15, 16 Hellcat engines run a little bit differently than the newer ones. So you can see here, 308AA, 308AA, same part number. So now we've got another PCM. I'm gonna go ahead, program this, and then we'll throw it in and see what happens. Okay, you guys ready? Let's start her up.